Good morning, everybody. And we've got William H. Murray with the InfraGard editorial on the line with us today. And Bill is going to be talking about essential practices. Bill, why don't you take it away?
One of the things that senior management looks to the security staff for is advice on where to spend the next security dollar. We each have ways of addressing this. Some of us do it by the seat of the pants, but those of you who are pilots have been taught how unreliable that method is. Some advocate best security practices, but because of the cost and other constraints, we quit long before we get there. Some employ formal risk assessment. However, few of us have the necessary knowledge, skills, and abilities necessary to employ this expensive measure, one that is much better at justifying expenditure than telling us what to spend on. I'm going to suggest an alternative called essential security practices, one that says, do this first. I teach at the Naval Postgraduate School, where my students are warriors. Since they understand the concept of force protection, I use it to teach computer security. In force protection, first you dig a hole. This rule is so important that Caesar is said to have sacked generals who permitted the troops to eat or sleep before they dug a hole. In modern warfare, we call this hole a foxhole. Foxholes are only about 0.8 effective. If the artillery shell or the grenade lands in the foxhole, it doesn't help much. However, if either is a near miss, then the hole offers protection. Most of you seen the movie Patton. You know that General Patton required that even the cooks and the doctors wear their steel helmets. Again, a steel pot will not protect you from a direct hit, but it improves the effectiveness of the foxhole. So there are two pieces of equipment that all troops carry into the field. The first is the steel pot, and the second is the entrenching tool. Each costs about $15. The helmet liner costs a little more. What about body armor? 0.8 effective, complements the hole in the steel pot. However, not tens of dollars, but hundreds. In the first Iraq War, we heard stories of moms hawking the family homestead to pay for body armor and sending it over. However, the price has now fallen by about half. Does it now qualify as essential? So, anyone can dig a hole with available resources. It's about 0.8 effective. It complements the steel pot. There are analogous security measures, IT security measures that can be done by anybody with available resources, about 0.8 effective, and which complement one another. For example, if a foxhole is a primitive fortification, then an IT analogy might be a free software firewall like the one provided by Microsoft and Windows. We accept that it is limited in its effectiveness. Antivirus software might be analogous to the steel pot. A hardware firewall that costs hundreds of dollars might, like the body armor, be questionable. However, one that costs tens of dollars and protects a small home office or a small office or home office network or an application server probably qualifies. Over the next couple of weeks, we will identify a list of qualifying IT security measures. Some will be fairly obvious, at least once they've been identified. A few will be surprising, and one or two will be controversial. You will find that many will be measures that you already have in place, but each of you will find one or two on the list that you have overlooked. There will be some items on the list that you have considered and rejected. I will ask you to reconsider them. I will argue that measures that are 0.8 effective and cost tens of dollars per seat are so efficient as to qualify as essential. Because efficient can be defined as cheaper than all of the alternatives, including that of doing nothing, these measures qualify as efficient by two definitions. Management looks to us to tell them where to spend their next security dollar. To do this, we must not only propose efficient security measures, but we must have an efficient process for doing so. Townsend told us that we should never spend more making a decision than getting it wrong would cost us. So I propose that we use expensive processes only to justify expensive measures, but that we do not do so until all the essential measures are already in place. Then we will deserve to be called professionals and be paid the big bucks. See you next week, where we'll start to enumerate examples of essential practices.
Thanks, Bill. I